You good? Okay. So I'm going to be presenting on future missions and where missions is heading and the changes that we can expect down the road. We all know missions is changing, and unreached people groups who live deep in the jungles with no contact with the outside world is becoming unheard of, basically. We've all heard Dan Falls talk about that. And it's important for us to understand where missions is heading so that we can prepare for this. And with the changing world, we all need to be willing to change with it and change our tactics so that we can best present the gospel to unreached people groups efficiently. So one of the different things that are becoming more and more popular these days is short-term missions. And churches are sending their youth to short-term missions much more now than, say, summer camps were like 10 years ago. And many of these short-term mission trips just look like people going and supporting the long-term missionaries, helping out in their work, or building houses, or trying to get converts to Christ without any discipleship afterwards. So there's definitely some pros and cons of short-term missions, and it definitely shouldn't replace long-term missions. But this is a trend we're seeing more and more, is that people are going to short-term missions. One of the benefits of this is there's a growing number of people that go on short-term missions that come back to do full-time missions, but the overall number of people going into full-time career missions isn't changing despite more people coming from short-term missions. So another trend that we're seeing is creative access. And creative access is basically countries that are closed to missionaries and don't allow missionaries to come into their countries to preach the gospel. We have to go under a different title. So technically, New Tribes isn't in any closed countries. Like, New Tribers would be going under work visa. So they would find creative ways in the country, as like being a teacher or businessman or woman or any other kind of job. So like countries like Mongolia, we have families in there under a big cattle industry, and through the cattle industry, they're allowed to teach their workers about Jesus, and they're finding converts through that way. So like different closed countries, again, Mongolia would be one, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. So there's all kinds of different countries that need the gospel that you can't go into as missionaries, so creative access is becoming a bigger thing now. Another trend we're seeing is the North American missionaries' roles in overseas is changing. With church growing in these third world countries, missionaries are going in there a lot as a supporting role to the national missionaries. So that would be coming up with the national missionaries, discipling them, teaching them how to be missionaries to their own people. And by doing that, we need better trained, educated missionaries so that they can do this well and efficiently, to hand over what we've been doing the past, I don't know how long, and let the national missionaries from that country reach their own people. And by doing it that way, it's a lot faster, more efficient, and better for the people hearing if it's coming from their own people. Another big thing that we have to be aware of is money, where money is going, and how that's affecting missions, and things that we need to be aware of with money. So I'm going to play a short video. This video we already watched in class, but I did have it on my presentation before Jody showed it in class, so I'm not copying him. So you can play the video. Micah will shut off the lights.
What about finances? Annually, all those Christians in World C earn a total of $42 trillion. And, together, they give about $700 billion to Christian causes each year. That includes everything: Christian nonprofits, churches, youth programs, missions, etc. Can you do the math? Less than 2% of Christian income is being given to Christ's causes. Out of that $700 billion given to all Christian causes, only $45 billion is given to missions specifically. That's a little over 6%. In fact, there is more money reported embezzled from the church each year than is given to missions. Remember those 400,000 missionaries? We have $45 billion to support them and their cross-cultural work. But how exactly is it allocated? Well, $39 billion goes to World C every year. Yep, 87% of that missions money is being spent in areas of the world that have Bibles and churches available. $5.4 billion, or 12%, goes to World B each year, those that have access to the gospel message but have rejected it. That leaves only $450 million, or 1% of all missions money going to World A, the least reached people of the world. To put that into perspective, annually Americans spend more money on Halloween costumes for their pets than gets sent to World A. To summarize, only 3% of our missionary force, armed with only 1% of missions giving, is going out to reach the 2 billion people who don't have access to the gospel. 2 billion people are still waiting for the good news of Jesus Christ. So here's a question for you. What are you going to do to change that?
Alright, so yeah, according to that video, we don't really have that much money to deal with. So we all know money is important for the missionary to get their jobs done. And we need to educate our local churches and telling them what we need. We shouldn't be ashamed to tell them that we're running low and we need more. So yeah, they need to understand the needs of what their missionaries need. And obviously in the video it shows that a lot of the money is going to people that have already heard the gospel, or short-term missions. Also, a lot of money is going to that. So the church needs to know that the unreached also, they need to be giving to the unreached too. And we just need to educate our local churches in that area to keep telling them the need that there is overseas. So in conclusion, change is coming. We can't do anything about that. We live in a changing world. We need to be willing to adapt to it. We need to be willing to make changes to be able to share the gospel and spread it as quick and efficiently as possible, but still doing a good job at it. We don't just want to go fast and try and spread all around as fast as possible, because that's when mistakes are made. So yeah, just being willing to adapt to the world, but still be doing a good job. And I think even New Tribe is doing a good job at that, because even the latest change, the new name change, Ethnos 360, a lot of us may not like it. We're adapting, making changes that are necessary to reach the world. And yeah, being willing to adapt is a really big thing in missions now. That's my presentation.